to our 13th season of up close and personal political interviews here in Maui. I'm Jason Schwartz. You've seen a lot of me through the years. In fact, I ran years ago. In fact, I remember when Alan Kaufman, our guest, who's now running for council, no matter where you are on all three islands, remember, you vote for everyone. So if you like Alan Kaufman, vote for him. Don't say, oh, I'm not in that district. We don't have district voting at this point, which is a show probably by itself. But Alan ran the Kula Community Association political, what? Introductions?
Well, what the Kula Community Association has done, it's done a very good job, thanks primarily to Dick Mayer, as well as to the other board members, was to put the candidates in front of a camera and make sure that Akaku could film. And the community, through the association board, would be able to ask questions of the candidates. And the beautiful thing about the camera is it's unfiltered. You don't just look at things coming in your mailbox. You don't just hear the candidates' advertisements. One of the things that bothers me the most about politics is it's an advertising campaign to get elected. Having been a veterinarian throughout the state of Hawaii and on Maui for over 3 decades now, I'm in a wonderful position to have served the public and to have gotten to know people from South Point to Ni'ihau and within Maui County from Hana to Lanai and Molokai. And it's been a blessing to be able to work with the people in our community, Jason, and to listen to them. When you're a veterinarian, what do? You gather data. That's what you do. You have to listen to people. Yeah. And then you have to have discernment. You have to know what they're telling you and what it means. And then you get to make a decision about how to move forward. And those 3 things, I realized, are a lot like the decision makers in our county council. You have to get your information. You have to have some degree of discernment. And then you've got to do something. I know some people would say our council members haven't done much. I think that all of our council members are good people. And they each bring their unique perspective to the council. And I'm running because I feel that agriculture, which is the industry that I have worked for 4 decades, needs to have a voice on council. I'll give you an example, Jason. Just yesterday, I got a call from a client.
Yeah.
And they've got issues because their dog was running loose on their property. This is a working cattle dog. Well, guess what? The way the law is written, if you have a working dog loose on your property, you're in violation of the leash law.
On your own property?
On your own property, unless you've got a closed gate. If your gate's open, you're in violation.
Okay.
And there are exceptions for police dogs and for competitive dogs. But basically, if your dog is loose on your own property, if you don't have everything gated off, you're in violation. But working cattle dogs need to be off of leash. They can't do their job without it.
Sure.
So one of my clients brought that to my attention, and what I was able to do is send off an email to the entire council. And I want to thank Don Guzman and Bob Carroll for responding as quickly as they did to let me know that it would be looked into. But the real question is, why do we even have a law on the books that was written without input from the agricultural community? And I just think it's time for ag to be heard, especially because we're at a crossroads for the future of Maui County. Right now we are looking at the last harvest, and we've got 36,000 acres, and who knows what that is going to look like over the course of the next 10, 20, or 30 years.
When you say agriculture, are you, as an owner of livestock or dogs, or a grower, and whether it's GMO or not, or big ag that has 36,000, 32,000 acres, so many major changes. I imagine some decisions being made on council. do you want to have the voice for what? I understand your
and I understand. I totally understand your question. And I'd answer it very simply. I said, I want to be a voice for agriculture. I'm not ever going to say I'm going to be the voice for agriculture. Agriculture cannot speak with a single voice any more than any other group can. Whether you're a farmer or a rancher, if you grow food or raise livestock, you're involved in agriculture. We all bring our unique perspectives to what we do.
Sure.
And my perspective is that of a veterinarian who's worked with ranchers and farmers throughout our entire county. So I've had it's basically a tapestry of experience from everyday working people. We have really good people on council. We have hotel operators, we have lawyers, we have people with lots of business experience. Well, we don't have anybody with any type of ag experience. And when I say I want a voice for council, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. I know that in your district, when you mentioned hotel operator, you're running in a race where Mike White, who's been on council and is on council, I don't imagine it's anything personal. You happen to live here, right?
I am running for Haiku, or representing Haiku, because it is my residency district.
Yeah.
People who know me, and it was a question earlier, and the Maui News addressed it quite well, is I've lived in Kula for more than 3 decades. I've only lived in Haiku for a little over a year. But that is how our system works. And when people talk about district voting, there are some good reasons for it. As far as the issue, of course, I am running against Mike White and also Trinette Furtado, who I also respect a great deal. I respect both of the people that I'm running against.
Yeah, that's great.
And for different reasons. Mike I've known for 40 years. 40 years ago, we both lived on the Big Island. He was working for a hotel on the Big Island at that time, and I'd take care of his horses. So Mike and I have known each other a long time. I've voted for Mike. And it's nothing, I'm not running against Mike.
I understand.
I just want to bring my own perspective to the council, and it would be a perspective of someone who is very much familiar with the farming and ranching community. I don't know how much of a farming and ranching community we're going to have with the shutdown of the largest farmer in Maui County.
Okay, I think that that's a subject for another show, because I have seen extraordinary plans. In fact, when the guy gave it to me and I mentioned to him about HCNS having brought an expert from southern Florida on how to grow sugarcane organically and to be able to add value rather than take away from the land, he said, oh, they're using my ideas. There's so many great ideas of what to do. I like the idea of so much land getting so much attention. Hopefully we'll make some good choices. I don't like this fighting. I think we all want the same thing. We all want something that's safe. We all want something that's going to be sustainable and wonderful and not have dirt blowing everywhere and be profitable and also be affordable. You know, there's all kinds of stuff.
You know, we'd all like a little piece of heaven right here on Maui. And in fact, we've got a piece of heaven right here on Maui. But how will it be dealt with? What is that going to look like? I moved to the Big Island from the mainland right out of veterinary school. And as I moved to the Big Island a bit over 40 years ago, the sugar plantations there were shutting down. Economics was killing them. They could not compete in the global market.
Right.
And I'll say as an aside, it's amazing to me that HCNS was able to keep sugar alive on Maui for 4 decades longer than the Big Island was. And Kauai shut down along the way too. So they definitely were making it work economically for far longer than any of the other plantations were able to do.
How come in all these 40 years, is there an experience on the Big Island of self-sustainability of crops? Or does Kauai have plans that they can say, hey, we haven't had sugar cane. Look what we did. Somehow, they kicked out Monsanto. Maui struggles. What's that? You know, I mean, I'm bringing it up as an interesting
If
picture.
any one individual had an idea that could make economic sense and make sense for our environment, it would be wonderful to think that all 37,000 acres could do that immediately.
I've seen Al Perez, who's I guess he's executive director of Maui Tomorrow, gave me a copy of something, and it was a plan for Maui farming, what to do with the 32,000 acres. My old buddy Lucien Dene, I'm sure, had part of it, and the team that really knows how to dig and do research. I interviewed a guy that created from a barren wasteland a forest in Colombia, Paulo Lugari, and Gunter Pauly from the Zero Energy Research Institute in 1995. So I've been inputting here for a long time, and no one listens. Now everyone gets into panic. It's the 11th hour. What are we going to do with this land?
Well, you know, Jason, there are a couple of things you need to keep in mind when you're having the entire discussion. One of the first is, if you've got a fantastic idea, there's nothing to keep you from going to HC&S right now, the landowner, and negotiating a lease to be able to implement it, maybe not on 37,000 acres, but maybe on 100 or on 10 or 1,000, whatever it can be. Proof of concept, show you can do it.
Sure.
Once you show you can do it, you can expand. Because I
surprised
guarantee you
they
that
never
if
became a
many
bank.
different leaseholders as they may end up with, not all the enterprises will succeed. They won't be successful. Also, if you look at the history on the Big Island, there was no one crop, there was no one thing that happened with all of the vacated sugar land. A lot of it got fenced for cattle, but cattle don't belong in the Central Valley. When you have relatively flat land, cattle are, and livestock of any farm, they're miraculous because they can take low quality protein, things we can't eat, and they can turn it into high quality protein. And where they belong is on rugged land that you can't farm. They don't belong on the best farmable land. Just in terms of the energetics of raising food, cattle belong up the mountain. Central Valley, you want to grow food that we can eat, not food that the cattle can eat. Maybe it's going to be things like energy crops, because we do need the energy. Maybe hemp has a future, but we've got so many different microclimates that cane can work in.
Sure.
What one crop can do it? I don't think there is one crop. If there is, nobody's told me what it is yet. I haven't heard what it is yet.
For as many years as I've been
Jason,
aware.
what
you just said, there shouldn't be one crop.
And even if,
So
what
even
crop
here-
are we going to have? Because the first thing is to put the horse in front of the cart. You're not going to grow anything without water. And we don't know what the future is of East Maui irrigation. Right now, there's a law, it was just passed. For 3 years, we know there's going to be water flowing through East Maui irrigation. But by the time the Supreme Court is done with it, we don't know if that water is going to end up going back in the ocean, if it's going to be used by the county to supply the people who've waited for decades on the upcountry water meter waiting list, or how much of it will be left for farming in the Central Valley. If you want to farm, you've got to have a source of water. It has to be reliable. And you've got to know that your inputs are going to be able to give you economic benefit down the road. Would you take out a lease with a 3-year time span on your water? I wouldn't. How can you begin to fence? How can you begin to put in infrastructure improvement for whatever farming you want to do and expect it to all come back to you in a 3-year period? If anything, I think the leaseholders or potential leaseholders are going to be circling the airport looking for a place to land until the Supreme Court makes a final ruling.
What just happened there? Oh, did you know that Apple has this feature called when you delete? For 30 days, it doesn't really delete. Because if you've done a lot of work, like I have, you can fill up your phone with things you've deleted that aren't really deleted. And that's what happened. So We're jumping back and continuing our conversation. This is Alan Kaufman, as you probably saw from seconds ago. Same guy, same place. I'm wearing a different shirt, different day. He's cordially taken us into his study here, and we're continuing our conversation. He is in Haiku and County Council. You know, no matter where you live on all three islands here in Maui County, you vote for all the council races. And so just remember that. If you like Alan, you can vote for him no matter where you live. In fact, we hope that, if you like him, you will give him that courtesy. Okay? That's why we're here, to say hello. Now, we were talking. It's only fair, I think. First of all, you might want to say something to these guys.
I think that's a great introduction, Jason. And if anything, I'd like to use this time to first familiarize you a little bit with my background. I think one of the things we didn't mention previously is about family. We have 7 children and 2 grandchildren. We have 5 children under the roof. It is a very ethnically diverse family in terms of nationalities and ethnic backgrounds. We have Hawaiian, Chinese, Portuguese, English, French, Russian, German, Puerto Rican, and more. And keeping peace in this family is what a parent learns to do. And certainly the peacekeeping skills that we've learned within our family, with many different personalities and many different backgrounds, might come in handy with the mayor and council relationship.
Yeah.
One of my big disappointments with current administration is the level of animosity, the amount of bickering that we see. Earlier I spoke about how we disagree with each other being every bit as important as what we disagree about. And it would be my hope that we can ratchet down what's been happening. It boils down to 2 dogs with 1 fire hydrant, and it doesn't matter which dog goes first, it's going to end up looking pretty much the same. And I think it's possible to have discourse without a lack of harmony. Good people are on both sides of every argument. People run for office with the best of intentions, and when the rubber meets the road, things get done with animosity. And as people concerned for our county's future, we have to do better than we've been doing.
I often come back to the fact that when you separate, even Moses and God, they separated the Red Sea, but it came back together and it was all the sea again. We all become one people. We're not 2 sides. We are a community of people.
One of the things about living on a small island is you don't write people off. You're going to bump into them tomorrow. And maintaining good relationships is always important. You can disagree with the person, but you don't disrespect the person or their position.
And here's where we really need to realize from our heart, you know, we really all are one family. It's great to hear that you have a family with such diversity. You're like watching TV, the father who said 8 is enough. You got a lot of kids, but there's a lot of love and a lot of stories and a lot of things. Working all that out is like being on council. You have to make it all work, you know, no matter if you're talking about a mayor and a council or a brother and a sister or a father.
Bottom line is you have to approach each other with respect, and especially more so when you disagree with each other. Another thing I want to make clear to everybody is that my campaign is not accepting contributions. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in political campaigns. It's been on the front page of the Maui News. We have good people collecting $50,000 or more and spending it for signs and bumper stickers and cook-offs and dances and entertainment. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'd rather, if you support me, that you would support one of the nonprofits who so desperately need our help and who work so hard to keep our island environment as good as it can be. My favorite nonprofits include the Cameron Center. Having been on the board and worked with the center for years and being familiar with its work, it is close to my heart. The Malama Pregnancy Center, and that is also an organization that my wife and I both feel strongly about for the help that they provide. And also Ka'ohano Kalopapa. And if you have a favorite organization, nonprofit that you want to donate to, go right ahead. There are many, many excellent organizations out there, and they all need our help far more than any candidate does. I do know over 7,000 of you, having worked with you over the past 40 years. And I certainly hope that if you know me, if you're pleased with the working relationship we've had for 4 decades, you'll know where my heart is and you can give me the support if you so choose. I have concerns with safety, and it is public safety. That goes right to our nonprofits, the work they do with the homeless. It goes to our police, our lifeguards, and the fire department. Whenever there's a fire, firemen are putting their life on the line, and they just have to have the resources to do their job well. We can't put their lives in danger, though it will be there every single time they go out. But we have to have adequate backup for them and be adequately prepared for the ongoing emergencies that we know we will experience. A fire at Ma'alaya is not rare. It happens all the time, too frequently. And we have to be prepared for that. We know what the winds are like there, and we just have to be ready. And the fire department needs the resources that it has asked for.
Yeah, you know, I'm kind of using this time for you to get some of the subjects you want to talk about. I can tell you, driving over here this time, getting through Paia was quite an experience. I wonder how we're going to deal with some of these issues with lack of funds, and I don't see people looking over the horizon with the vision that we'd like to see.
You know, when we start talking about grand ideas, it takes resources
Absolutely.
to implement them, and we all know that. The big issue, one of the many issues with funding, you know, every year when it comes budget time, we're so used to it. It's okay, we know what all the actors are in place. The mayor will have the budget, the county council will reduce it, and it just looks like a shell game. We take our property tax rate and lower it, which is great if we can afford to. Hawaii has the lowest property tax rates in the nation. That's wonderful. But we also don't have the level of service that we need. How can we ever go to the state and say we should have a bigger share of the TAT, Transient Accommodations Tax, which we should have? Even the committee that studied and made recommendations to the state said the county should have more. But how can we ask for that when we're cutting our property tax rates? I don't want to pay more taxes. Nobody wants to pay more taxes, but we have to have essential services. And so it's a matter of priorities. If we just keep our tax rate the same, it would be a better methodology than having the mayor inflate a budget to meet our essential needs and then the council sticking pins in it and getting below what our essential needs are.
You've been working with this a long time. I can tell, as we're sitting here, that you've encapsulated this into the essential points. But when you say you've been working with them for 40 years in your profession as a veterinarian and doctor, but also because I was a political candidate all those years ago, I thought of you cool community association, but you really ran a PTA and had a really heavy involvement with people in this community for a good long time.
I'm every bit as proud of the 2 years I served the Kula PTA as I am of the years I've served the Community Association. And we've done some good. Just getting a traffic light into the Five Trees intersection was an effort that took place over years. And to see personal friends have debilitating injuries, career-ending injuries at that intersection, it was a wonderful day when the light finally went up. The things we do when we donate our time to the community, they may take away from time spent with family, but they're done because we love the family, whether it's PTA or the community association. And certainly those efforts have made me familiar with some of the process. Do I know the inner workings of the county building? Definitely not. It comes down to all those relationships between all those people. And every last one of them, the people who are also running for the council seat, they're good people. They would not be running for office if they weren't good people. I won't say a negative word about any of them, but they all bring their perspective, which is very different. If you're an accountant, you have a particular perspective. As a veterinarian, I focus on history. I get data from my clients, and I use that. And one of the wonderful things, the internet, again, has made us all the data available. But you have to use your own personal discernment. And our discernment is shaped by what we do, the people we talk to. And that's one of the things I love about the veterinary profession, in that doing work with the different branches have taken me from one end of our island chain as far as French Frigate Shoals. And I've worked, though it's now been some time, with my clients and friends on Lanai, on Molokai, and virtually every road on Maui I've been up it or down it. I've castrated horses there or worked cattle in those pastures. I've watched those pastures turn into subdivisions. And it's a long and it's a deep history that I've had. It's a meaningful relationship. And it's my hope to be able, because my campaign will not take any donations, to achieve success in this bid for a council seat through the Coconut Wireless and social media. I have put up on Facebook, Kaufman for Council is the page, where people can go and read about my positions and get to know me better. But if anything, I think you will leave having watched this knowing I'm sincere, obviously, and that's good. I'm not nearly as knowledgeable about every subject as I'd like to be, but then none of us are. But I come to every subject with an open mind. I don't walk into an exam room saying, I already know the answer and I haven't even looked at your animal.
But you've had a level of experience that makes you as qualified as anyone in the room. Because your opinion, from where you're coming, has a history of good work. And that's undeniable. So, I mean, you're in an interesting race. I said, it's a very funny system here, you know, where you move here, you move there. You know, in Kauai, they do it, okay, pick your top 9. That's it. That's how we choose it. But I know that your contributions are very valuable, whether you're in the seat or not, and I wish you the very, very best. Are there any subjects that you would like to be able to specifically put out personally to our audience? Because, no matter where you are in this county, that all these representatives, although they represent the district, and that's their constituency, you voted for them, and they really can help you too. And so you may just find the right kind of person in Alan to be able to do that. That's why it's nice to be able to have all 9 votes at the moment.
One of the things I would like to do, and we've tried to do this before, is to implement district voting within Maui County. I think it is an important subject because the people we elect truly determine what's going to happen and how issues get addressed. And it's a real burden when we ask the voters to get to know about not simply 1 or 2 voting areas, but to know about 20 or 30 different candidates running for office.
Sure.
Usually we know the people closest to home, because the bulk of my veterinary work has been up country and North Shore. People know me there, but I'm also known in the communities of Hana, Kahakaloa, because I've worked there, I have friends there. So I am known island-wide, But usually we do better if we can narrow our focus to bring it down to a smaller number of candidates for which we can become familiar with.
And that would be better. But right now, through the power of television and the internet, if you like this interview and want to share about Alan Kaufman, you can give them that link and they can go watch it. And even though they're in the corners of Molokai or Lanai, they can be a good vote. And I think that's what we have right now. So let's just use it to the best. Because when you find a good candidate, especially now, you really need your support. So that's what we hope that this will be able to do, is have a few more legs on it.
Well, Jason, I want to thank you personally for the work you do to be able to bring information in front of the voters. It's not necessarily a job you get a lot of thanks for, but it does serve an important function within our island community.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, I have people that are telling me that right now I should get ready for the next mayoral race. And I don't really want to be a mayor or in this council.
You do a very good job with interviews, Jason, so keep up with what you're doing really well.
Some of the decisions that are being made, I've seen, for example, different companies who aren't open to hearing, or they keep their decisions with a profit motive. I hope to be able to use, and you're going to see it, nonprofits to work together in a new way and create this example to show that farming makes economic sense. So we don't have to go resident, you know, some of these important concepts while we still have open land and things, except I hope to do it in such a way, maybe through TV, but we have to work together, where someone with an idea like a Maui tomorrow and someone like you who could be there and talk to this person or that person in a different way because of your knowledge and experience, could do something in a unique way. Just like we talked about the mayor and the council and everyone having their unique positions, but we're on an island and good ideas should just rise to the top and be acceptable and open. I mean, I think we need to create more open discussion. I remember doing one a dozen years ago, maybe less, about GMOs. And I had these guys from the university that were pro-GMO, and we sat around, but they wouldn't meet, nor the other guys from anti-GMO. So we had two shows, and now it comes out again a decade later. You know, we can do some things. And I bring it up only because, who knows when you're running against a guy like Mike White, who has, you know, a long history and visibility, etc.
You know, Jason, I would share with you that I have known Mike for 40 years.
Sure.
40 years ago, Mike was running a hotel in Kona, and I'd go out to his place in Kohala and work on his horses. And now 40 years have passed, and Mike is still running hotels, and I'm still working on animals, so I guess not too much has changed. When I decided I was going to run, the first thing I did was call Mike up, and he said, "Hey, Alan, the more the merrier." And I would have expected nothing less from Mike. And he's a good man. He has his opinions. He thinks like a hotel operator. I don't. And I do know people from all walks of life and deal with them every day. Most important thing anybody can do, whether you're on council or whether you're a newspaper carrier, is listen to people, hear what they have to say, and use your discernment as you move forward with your life. Jason, I really want to thank you for the interview today.
You're welcome. Thank you. I just really am just ending it knowing that we're just opening a discussion. We hope that this is creating an environment where we can all be sitting and talking, and you can get to know all these people and get involved yourself, because the elections come and go, but all these issues, your involvement really makes the difference. Alan Kaufman, thank you very, very, very much.
Absolutely, Jason.
Not only for your hospitality, but for all that you've done in such a long time in our community. Thank you.
Thank you for what you've done too, Jason.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you again.
Take care.